This is God Cannon back once again, and today we're going to be taking a look at Bout of Blood with special guest, the developers.
I know everybody's.
The show is hosted by GamerTag VR. Thank you, man, for bringing us.
It's dramatic.
We're getting started right now. We got an epic entrance to make. Thank you to everybody who's joining in. Really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, I'm ready, boys. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the PSVR chat show. We're just going to do a little intro first before I do a full introduction. Wanted to show you.
What's up, LSB, my man? Kipsu, how's it going, man?
Let's go, man. Press the button. Press the button. Where is it?
Alrighty.
Nothing much,
Press
man.
the button.
We're about to take a ride. Let's
This
go.
is awesome.
Hey, Reth, what's going on, dude? My Gamecat's in the house. Here we go.
Welcome to the Bout of Blood arena.
Nice. Oh my god. Excellent.
So cool.
Sweet.
Prophet,
Awesome.
what's up, dude?
Alrighty.
Man, let's go.
Let's move it.
All right.
It should bring us through all at once.
Joystick,
Hi, I'm
what's
Matt
up, my
Hoster,
man?
Design director at Tribetoy. Thanks for checking.
I didn't get to hear what he said. Thank you guys for joining in. Hope you guys enjoy the show. Got Tribetoy. Whoa.
Oop.
Oh wow, I'm excited, everyone.
Oh, look at those.
Wow.
That's really cool. This is awesome.
Oh my god.
And everybody joining, make sure you remember that
So
you can
cool.
visit this level after we're done
What the
here.
hell is that?
Shoot,
Checking over. You guys can shoot guns if you wish.
You can shoot them.
Oh yeah.
You said if you wish.
Look at the
Where are the guns?
there's actually breakable rocks. They're hard to tell, but
There's only
Yeah.
four
Pick up
guns.
one of the moves and you can shoot.
if you move the lasers towards that one coming up at top there, that
The-
should be breakable.
This
The
is
lasers
insane.
are meant for mining.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Floating rocks everywhere. There's one.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Juice in the house.
Oh,
What's up,
yeah.
Solo?
I love the
Awesome.
broadsides bouncing up. It's fantastic.
I need a gun.
It's great.
So
Look at
cool.
the effects, dude. Look at the effects.
I need something to
What
shoot.
is that? That's so
We have
cool.
loads of fun for you in here, guys, just to check it out.
Hey, Liv,
Down there.
hook
Jesus.
hook your
the
boy up with a
firearm.
pistol.
Yeah.
What's that?
Go on,
Where's the
Justin.
gun?
Get the plat.
Justin has one.
Justin, get the plat. Man.
Oh.
Yes.
Platinum.
Let's go.
So cool.
Indestructible. Woo.
Whoa.
Look how cool this is.
Oh, gotta reload.
That is quite the explosion.
Oh man.
Yeah, we got
Literally are in the explosions.
Yeah.
we got a lot of people in here. We got,
Oh my God.
Oh my god, there's so much
awesome.
going on.
Yeah.
My game can't handle this. Like,
Phenomenal.
out right now.
Yeah. Mine is
there's a lot of
too.
people in here right now.
Everything is
If there
awesome.
wasn't so many of us in
It's
here,
crazy.
it's acting a little funny because
It's
there's
the
a lot
rec
of us in
room
here right now.
syndrome.
Yeah.
Jason, I
But
might pop
it's-
back afterwards, dude. I might pop back afterwards and have a little look.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Shall we go start the meeting?
Let's go.
Yeah.
Dude,
Let's do it.
Prophet, I saw that. I don't know how I
Let's
missed
go.
that video, but I'm gonna go back and watch that. Oh, Dave has disarmed me.
So brilliant.
All right, let's go to the show.
And we're off.
Yeah, let's see.
You guys want before we get started?
Yeah, me too.
Coffee and donuts here real quick.
Coffee and donuts.
Awesome.
Look at these sweet costumes,
it.
guys.
We'll start with the coffee.
Yeah.
And then I want to show
Dude, no
everyone-
joke. Solus is like by far one of my favorites.
Coffee. I know. I didn't realize.
What's up?
Portable
You're
PSVR.
gonna put a suit on there.
Oh,
Little
go.
donut action over on the other table.
Oh, there we go.
No, sound
English.
Costume.
Oh, that's even better.
Hey, what's
Oh,
up?
yeah.
Nice, nice.
Oh,
Plus the
You
hard
green
stuff
and blue.
now, Yeah.
Yeah, they made these.
Pour it into the coffee, you know.
They made these sweet costumes that you can put on.
oh.
Sorted donuts.
So good. I bring this with me. It's very important.
Oh man, I have like
Man.
Jordan. What's up, dude?
Oh.
Don't tell anybody the secret.
It won't let me eat my donut. There we go.
Dude, I love Solus Project so
That is
much.
so cool.
Hey, Juice, come here.
That's so cool.
Juice,
Donuts.
Awesome.
put it on.
Drop your donut.
There you go.
Whenever you guys are
That's
ready.
awesome.
5 seconds. 5 seconds.
That's what I was wearing just a second ago.
Robot.
Right. That's so
Where's
cool.
it?
Nice.
Where's the donut? Oh, donut.
Yeah.
to make it.
Yeah, have a next festival.
Good, Jordan. Good. Then you can keep your soul
Command the ship.
for now.
Awesome.
It's almost like
Oh,
a
man.
I'm heading to the
I know, right?
cannon. And
What?
I'll start shooting them.
Oh, that was a good point. There we go.
Yeah,
Really
that'll
cool.
work.
It's all right.
All
Good
right.
as any.
Look at this.
Let's see if I look good. Cool.
Oh, it's incredible.
So we have Jeff and Matt from Tribetoy,
All right, then, guys, we all ready?
and of course this level was designed by Livinator
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
All
and
right.
Jimith.
So what's up, everyone? My name is GamerTag.
We had help
aka
from
GT.
Dorky
I want to
and
welcome
Velp.
the viewers to the PSVR chat show. For those who don't know, this is developer chat about virtual reality inside virtual reality. I've been blessed with being the host for today's show. I'd like to start by thanking and introducing Matt
Sunshine, I appreciate
Matt
you jumping in,
Hostry
dude.
and Jeff Isley. How you doing?
Hope everything's well.
Doing good. Thanks for having us.
Hey,
It's great to be
Yeah,
here.
thank you for
Hey,
coming,
thanks for
man.
being here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
They are the creators and developers of Battle to Blood for the PlayStation VR. I also want to thank our incredible talented team, Velp, Dorky, and Jimith. They have made the world you are in today.
Great
in the
job,
rec room.
guys.
It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, this is awesome.
More than me.
Oh
It's
man,
amazing.
that ship
So
was
great to
absolutely
see.
incredible.
And Super Champ Yuki.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
yeah, you guys have to
yeah.
come in and check this room out whenever you get a chance.
No worries, man. I want to do a massive thank you to the show's producer, Jason Liven, a.k.a. The Glue, for pulling this all together. Good work, man. Well done. Thank you.
Live.
Very nice.
Yeah, man. We also have some of your favourite VR YouTubers. We've got God Cannon from PlayStation Underground or PSVR Underground.
Hey,
We've got
hey.
Dave Station. We've got Justin. We've got Danish Gaming.
Yeah.
And Jimmy. I don't know
Damn it,
Jimmy,
I missed that
if you're
comment. I'm sorry,
streaming,
guys.
I'm not streaming, but yeah, I'll give you the wave.
And VR God, how you doing, guys? So, for those watching and fans of Rec Room, please feel free to explore this world after the show's finished. Sit back, get comfy. And we also got 2 keys to give away. When this video is finished, all you've got to do is basically put down a comment, and in 24 hours, the favourite comment will get picked, and those the winners get picked afterwards. So, guys,
Yeah, man,
if
me
you're
too.
ready, I'd like to start with asking the biggest question. What was your main driving force behind bringing Battle to Blood, or making Battle to Blood a virtual reality game?
Sure. Like, one is we just love VR. VR is this new medium that just adds a lot of excitement to people that have made a lot of games before. We could do things that you could never do before. Also, it's just like it fit the fantasy fit the medium well. Flying through the clouds is something you can't do in the real world, and we really just wanted to bring that to people, and we thought it was just the idea fit well.
Yeah.
Yeah, another thing we liked about the game in VR is just it's really good. We really wanted people to be able to move through space. Really feel that sensation of just moving through space in a very VR friendly way, and being captive on an airship seemed an ideal model for that.
Not a problem, Solo. Appreciate you strapping in, brother.
In an environment that's pretty approachable at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like most people and everyone else here, I'm sure, virtuality, when you experience it, it sticks with you. It makes a real impression. So I'll take it. What was your first impressions of VR?
Oh wow! I think the first time I used VR, modern VR at least, way back when I was a child, I remember being at like a theme park or something where they had one that was still amazing. But I think it was the Oculus development kit. Actually, I got one of those because it looked cool, and I
Appreciate you, man.
put it on and was just blown away.
Have a good one, dude.
Also, I got a really cool experience very early on when VR was just coming back, where I was working on the HoloLens for Microsoft, and they had these people from Stanford University show up and show us this ridiculous headset. I still haven't seen anything like it. It had it was like $30,000 or something, but it had the field of view was so big you couldn't see anything except for the virtual world. It was 4K per eye with no latency. And I saw all these people being risen in the air and screaming. They weren't actually being risen in the air, but in VR they were. And they were just screaming it was so real to them. And I was like, why are they hamming it up? What is wrong with them? And then I put this thing on, and I literally started sweating because it's just so real, and my mind couldn't disconnect it. And I'm like, oh, this is the future. We have to do games in this. It was too cool.
Yeah, for sure.
And mine was the DK1 as well. It's the first time I really experienced it. It was just at a party, actually, at Matt's place. And I might have been drinking a little bit. It might have helped with the immersion. But I remember putting it on and going on a roller coaster, getting up at the top, and then just sitting down on the floor. It's like, this is not something that I was prepared for. And after that, I just kind of hooked on the idea, just the ability to put you in that place so quickly and so immersively, and just wanted to explore
Seriously,
it as much
Prophet?
as I could.
Yeah, just to be able to make something and go into it must be incredible. To visit what you've made, like these guys making this world, it must be amazing. You know?
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
We'll get there in a couple of years.
Let's go
It'll
back
be
to your
cheap.
gaming origins. What other games have you worked on in the past?
Me and Jeff actually both worked together on Lord of the Rings Online and Dungeons and Dragons Online when we were at Turbine near the beginning of our career. After that, I worked on Fragments for the HoloLens, which is like this crime game that turns your whatever room you're in into a crime scene, which is pretty fun. And then just a whole bunch of other games outside of that I won't bore you with the whole list.
Yeah,
what about you, Jeff? You done any others?
Yeah, we worked together, as Matt said, on Lord of the Rings Online and Dungeons and Dragons Online. After that, I did a short indie stint on my own, a small game called Rustclad that sadly was never finished, but was a lot of fun to work on. And after that,
I don't think so.
went over to Linden Lab.
But like I said, there is a contest where you can try to win one.
Years, really laying the
yeah, it's definitely not that intense.
The VR
definitely
experience there, just building that all up. And then, it's been Tribetoy since then.
Deathlock, what's up, dude?
Oh, sweet. So at what point did you decide to actually give yourself a name and a brand, solidly go at it? Is there a team of 6 of you, or is there 2 of you?
Yeah, our team right now is 5, but yeah, we grew to a maximum of 6. The way back when, actually, 2010.
Never been better, my friend.
I think.
Thank you for joining.
I was working at a company called Tencent, which was Tencent Boston, which is like the Google of China, but they were having some Americans help them make MMOs. And at the same time, I was making a game on my side with the art director, who became the art director at Telltale, Tara Ruping, and Camille Chu, who became the lead animator on Shadow of Mordor. We were making Chu's Dynasty, which was just like fighting game, Super Smash Brother type.
That was
idea.
me all through school.
And we built that, and we became Tribetoy way back then, but all got jobs from that indie title. Like, Microsoft called me, and Tara ended up going to working at the ranch at Lucasfilm, and Camille ended up going to Monolith to do Shadow of Mordor and stuff. And then after, we worked at those other jobs for a while, we were like, hey, we really enjoy doing that indie
There's
thing
some
together.
high-profile places, guys.
Let's get back together and do that again.
Superb. Yeah, so...
We're glad you did.
Yeah, thank you.
Man, yeah. So we got Cannon.
So retro gaming time. What is you guys' favorite gaming console and maybe game that you grew up with, or got a lot of inspiration from?
My gaming console is Sega Genesis, actually. Favorite one.
Nice.
Nice. I have a funny story with that, where my father was in vending, so he had arcade games and such, but he hated Nintendo. Because Nintendo would do this thing where they'd put out an arcade game and then put out the home game at the same time.
Nobody hates Nintendo.
So the arcade industry started losing a lot of money on Nintendo, but Sega would wait a year. So I was allowed to have a Sega, but I couldn't have a Nintendo.
That hatred runs deep.
The original console wars.
That's my favorite console. My favorite, I play mostly a lot of PC games. Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, I think, might be my favorite game.
Nice.
And it's just because the way the story and the game integrate together, and it just is so seamless. I just love that game.
Very cool. Thank you. What about you, Jeff?
I gotta agree with Sega Genesis. It's I think it hit me at just that right
Thank
time.
you, Guru, man.
And I've definitely been more of a PC gamer than a console gamer historically, but Sega was not my first love, but the one that...
Man, I love Dreamcast. Sonic Adventure's my jam.
The deepest. As far as games go...
and Power Stone.
I think it's a hard question, but but maybe my favorite, the game I've enjoyed the most over the years is an old strategy game for the Macintosh called Pax Imperia back in the late 90s. And it was just a early 4X game, ridiculously complicated, buggy as hell, but just had some really fun ideas and paved the way for a lot of that stuff going forward. And I wish the sequel were better, but I'll always remember that one being my years of fun.
Really cool.
Cool. So, who had the idea to integrate the mobile app into the game? Personally, I don't know if one of you was on the stream. Someone was on my stream from Tribetoy, and basically they let everyone know about it, and they told them where to get the code from, and it got really hard. Like, it was just, I got murked all the time. I was a nightmare. I was thinking, why am I doing so bad at this game? And then whoever was on the stream said, well, they're probably not trying to help you. And I was like, oh, right.
Probably not.
Yeah, so what's that all about?
Yeah, it was.
Command
it was really
and
neat for
Conquer.
us, I have to say. When we gave out the codes for the game.
Oh, you know he does.
Before we launched, and
for the record,
go up and be able to
before PSVR, my favorite console was PS1,
they were playing.
and my favorite game of all time is Final Fantasy VII. Metcat, what's up, man?
The first time ever, and that was just
I ain't afraid
the
no
coolest
ghost.
thing ever to see that.
Yeah.
As far as the mobile app goes, we really wanted the focus of the game to be on the single player relationship mechanics. You know, that's something that was always like the main, you know, one of our main features for the game throughout the entire development. And so, like, we wanted to find some sweet spot between letting people interact, you know, with, you know, the streamers and their audience.
Yeah, me too, man. For real.
Really be able to focus on that single player.
I gave up at the Scorpion at first,
relationship mechanic. So,
and then I went back, and it became my favorite game of all time.
Isn't it? Is it 50 at one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 50 right now.
Red 13 is my favorite character.
It was just kind of a neat way to let people get in and contribute and help or hurt in fun ways. And yeah, we kind of wanted to keep. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, how does that affect development time? I mean, how hard is that?
It definitely, like, it added to it, and is one of those things, like, it's kind of a additional feature to the game. It wasn't like a core feature.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that a lot of the time in development,
it was a flawed game in some parts.
Is this something that's really adding a lot? But every time, you know, we sit back and look at it, we'd be like, we really do like what this contributes to the overall thing. And so it's definitely added some time, but, you know, that also came into, you know, the scope of it. We tried to keep it really, like, focused on what we wanted to do, so it didn't become this monolithic, you know, like feature that took up, you know, derailed us from the core experience we were trying to build.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. So, in Battle to Blood, personally, I find some elements that remind me of Destiny. It seems to be like a big focus on a main battle. There'll be a couple of ships going at it. You know,
Which one, Matt?
got a
7?
choice of whether to keep going
You said
or
Arius.
get the key and get out of there. What games influenced Battle to Blood?
Influences for Battle Blood, like main influence, like Faster Than Light. FTL
Not as much
was,
of a fan
big
anymore.
influence in
That's for
that.
sure.
You know, when it came out around the same time, or at least I started playing it about the same time as the DK1, and I was like, oh my god, a crew management captain game in VR would be incredible, and like that was like sort of the kickoff for that. Also, you know, I love MechWarrior. I love Star Fox. I love some of these, like,
Did Joystick just call me Danish?
Strategic shooters. Like, you know, there's a lot of you know, shoot forward, like fighter jet shooters, but there's not a lot of strategic shooters, almost like tanky sims, you know, submarine sim. So I wanted to pull some of those elements in. And then there's actually a lot of just non-game media that sort of influenced us too, like, you know, reality shows. Like, we hadn't seen a good there's been a lot of, like, people that make a game in a reality show trapping, but not someone who's done a reality show game where, like, the mechanics of the game have some reality show elements. So, and then, like, Hunger Games and things like that and other media was coming along too, and that was popular at the time. We're like, oh, that's you know, it's this Battle Royale kind of thing is just starting before Battle Royale. And then, you know, it's just
yeah, I might be able to.
All those influences sort of came in, and, you know, you know, got us started.
No, you're good,
for sure.
Joystick. I'm just messing with you, dude.
Yeah. So something I wanted to ask was around the fact that during the events, during the gameplay,
Dave looks
you've
like
got
an
lots of
angler
elements going
VR
on.
fish.
You kind of touch a bit on like crew skills, ship management,
And he's, like, halfway in the
so can you
couch.
kind of talk a little bit about around what stopped you going like too deep and implementing like leveling and experience points and keeping it that kind of arcadey feel, because it really doesn't, which is great. So yeah, can you just talk a little bit around that?
Yeah, sure. Like one thing I really wanted to avoid is making the player grind. Right. I really wanted. There's a lot of RPGs that focus on numbers going up, and a lot of times that can be artificial, right? Like you're not really getting better at the game. Your numbers are going up, and that's how you're getting better. And I wanted to really allow the player's mind to grow. Also, like for us, our progression,
I don't
we wanted
mind
to
a
try
little
this thing where
grinding,
rather than just
as long
having
as
a
you get
pure number
rewarded.
going up, building relationships was sort of your progression. Like as I make friends, it makes my life easier, right? As I make enemies, it can make my life harder. And sort of, showing this, hey, like these relationships you build,
Thank you,
they carry on, they matter. So getting people to think about that in real life would be nice too. That's all elements that sort of factor into that decision. I mean, I love RPGs. I love some progression mechanics. I don't think it was necessarily right yet for this game. In the future, maybe that's if we could do it right, if we could make it part of the puzzle, it'd be something that'd be really cool. And in future products, it's definitely something I'd like to do. But again, I want to make more than numbers going up.
Stop it,
I wanted to make it part of this puzzle that people are actually getting better by the choices they make, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great answer as well. And I was just going to say, like on the relationship point as well, that is such an amazing part of this game. Like it's one of those things that you wouldn't expect coming into it. And then the choices are never easy. So yeah, mad props for that, because every time I was agonizing over every decision.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. That's awesome. Yes, if you felt something, I'm happy. That's great.
Yeah, man, that's cool. So we've got Dave Station, I believe.
Yeah, so my question was about the control schemes, because I know, like,
Anglerfish
think,
VR.
Of a game I'm controlling a ship in the air, I'm shooting at stuff, your first thought is, I'll play this with DualShock 4 if I can. So the fact of it is, though, a lot of people say they prefer the moves over the DualShock 4. So I wondered, like, what you guys preferred internally, and also what kind of challenges you ran into designing a game like this that actually still felt really good without any sticks or anything at all,
Yeah, I think we're split internally on what we prefer, which is
Stop
good.
it, man.
I like the
Dave's a
DualShock
good
just
guy,
because I'm
okay,
a
leave
flight
him
sim
alone.
guy. I really like flying, and it's easier to fly in the DualShock. Not having an analog stick on the moves definitely was a challenge. Way back in in my Microsoft days, I did a lot of natural user input, as I said, like the Kinect. I worked on that for a bit, and the Hololens. And one thing I really wanted to avoid was sloppy input. And if you like, for example, pointing where you want to go, and clicking, or like something where you're like holding the move at an angle,
no Red
tends to be
Dead
a
for
little
me,
sloppy.
man.
And that's why we ended up with basically mimicking sort of a D-pad feel. We also split the two move controllers. We felt it almost felt like ropes on a ship. If you're like hitting the buttons on one side of the move controller and hitting the buttons on the other, it still gives you that binary input, but it also, it's sort of the best compromise we could make for giving you the really good aiming and such like that. I know Jeff has different feelings about things.
It's pretty neat, yeah. That it seems to be close to a 50-50 split on opinion. Maybe a little bit more leaning towards DualShock.
I was just going to say, can we do a show of hands? Who's on what? I mean, like, who's up for the DualShock here? Because I know I am.
I do love the DualShock.
Definitely.
No, move support all the way.
Always the DualShock.
Yeah.
All the way.
Move support for sure.
I like the moves. Yeah, I think that it's frustrating not having thumbstick. Yeah, it's like flying the ship is really hard on the moves, but just I like kind of like flying this way, focusing on this while I also kind of pick off this guy as I'm like going that way. And to me, like locking the head to where you had to aim, especially when you have to whip it around and shoot things, is like just makes me prefer the move style. But I feel like they both ended up pretty good.
You will be tarred and feathered. Later, Matt. Appreciate you, man,
for
dropping in. I thought that's what you said. I wasn't sure though.
But yeah, I feel like I like hearing that.
Prophet, I need to talk to you about your avatar too, your gaming avatar. I played that game with the little rabbit and the wheel.
With the move controllers, but you guys, I think you nailed it. Best you could, I think, for this kind of games.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I think when I played it with the moves, it definitely felt more interactive. it definitely felt to me more realistic in a way. You know,
I forgot what it was called, but yeah, that game was sick.
I prefer.
I was like the only. I thought I was like the only one that knew about that game.
I definitely preferred the DualShock.
The
It felt so much more
multitasking.
arcadey. Yeah,
we had the DualShock working first, and then we got the moves working, and then at one point I pulled out the gun, and I was like, "Wow, this is way too easy. we need to make this harder because this control scheme just makes it ridiculously easy."
Yeah, man. So for those of us, I don't know who else how many seasons they've done or anything, but for those of us lucky enough to survive the culling and get in the top 3,
that was my alarm.
You've added the decisions of the relationships you've made or hampered, whatever you want to call it, affects the end of the game, and I found that the hard way. So that's really clever.
Yeah, we really wanted to, just reward different play styles. Like, it's totally a viable play style to just go through and murder all the challengers, but you'll pay for that in the end. And also, like, we really wanted to like build that meta strategy. Like, even getting your friends voted off at the right time can help you, which is, it's sort of it's something you wouldn't, like, a good person wouldn't do, but in a video game it's interesting to have that strategy there, and it's very reality show-esque, right? Where it's like, who do I need to get voted off at this point? Who do I want to face in the end? Like, all those factors, are things to think about through the whole season.
Yeah, and as you play more, as you learn the relationships between not you and other characters, but the characters between each other, and you learn the strengths and weaknesses of their ships, you'll start getting preferences on who you want to be facing in that final gauntlet and whatnot.
I honestly prefer grinding over relationship stuff in RPGs.
Your final challenge is what you have some control over that, because that can really matter.
Yeah. What made you
Cloak,
not
what's good, my man?
at sea, for example? Because you're talking about ships, cannons. I mean, were you always going with a flying ship thing, or?
How's it going, dude?
Yeah,
Thanks
I mean,
like
one thing that we really wanted to do with VR is we wanted to give you that chance to do something you could never do in the real world. You could be on a ship in the real world, but you can't fly through the clouds on a ship. I guess you can wing walk or something like that.
I mean, who doesn't want to be a space
outside
pirate?
of that?
Yeah, I hear you.
The other thing is just like, as far as genre, I love sci-fi and I love fantasy, and one thing I've always sort of wanted to do is make a warm sci-fi. And what I mean by that is, like, sci-fi tends to be very external. All your powers come from your devices, where fantasy is very internal, like the power comes from yourself. So our universe, the fact that all basic technology in your world is powered by your blood and is like, makes this power come from you, makes it internal, and it's sort of like a warm sci-fi where we have like this warm world you're flying through. You're not.
This is really interesting what he's saying. That's pretty cool.
It's internal power, and those are all things we thought about
Firefly.
to make it airships, right? Like, just doing something new and different.
Yeah, man. So then we've got
Thanks,
Justin.
man. Appreciate you. I like it too.
Yeah, so, I really love the way you guys did the skills and abilities on the ship, and the way that you guys made it so you kind of have to balance what you pick and when you pick it. Were there ever any skills or abilities that you guys originally thought might work and really just didn't work out, or plans to add anything else to the ship to kind of change it up a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we went through a lot of iterations with skills and abilities. I think even just what the rooms did on the ships probably changed like 4 or 5 times. Just like really trying to make it more apparent, like more. One thing we wanted to avoid as much as possible is it just being a stat increase. We wanted you to feel the change of moving the crew, and we really worked on that. In the future, it's something we definitely new crew probably won't happen, simply because having 2 crew on the ship is a really good balance between 5 rooms, 2 crew, and also it'd be VO constrained. But we might, consider adding new abilities or new skills in the future, in a future update.
Oh. Nice, man.
There's a lot of really cool stuff behind the scenes in this game.
Are there any plans to put in online elements of the game, like a competitive mode, or just a straight up like against one another PvP? Or?
Multiplayer would be so good.
Yeah, we've talked about that so much. It's something that we keep going back to. I think really like what it came down to for Bout of Blood.
I think it's all okay.
We do have a pretty small team, and we really wanted to nail that single-player relationship mechanic experience as much as we could. Yeah.
Thank you.
I know, right?
And it's just we thought
dude.
about it. We really spent a lot of time going to what it would take, to make this multiplayer. And at the end, we just realized that any attention we put there to get it to where that needed to be, we probably couldn't have gotten the relationship system to where it needed to be. And so it just
it's nuts.
But going forward,
I mean, and props to these guys for building this whole level too.
On the table,
they spend weeks putting this level together. It's pretty insane.
And
that's it. Yeah.
And any future projects, of course, it's definitely on the table.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Yeah, so the release of Battle to Blood didn't actually affect your studio as such as in size-wise. Are you still the original 6, or was there any thoughts about expanding or anything?
Right now we're 5. We so we went to 6 just for a short time, and then we went back down to 5. But as far as that, we're sticking at this size for now, just during the support of Battle Blood. We're working on the next update, which is going to have difficulty. We're adding difficulty modes. We're adding some new enemy types, some new events. We've also improved our procedural engine. So you're going to see when you go into the explore zones, which are more about exploring in particular, you're going to see a lot more variation there.
Nice.
And then so that's coming, and then we have a pretty big announcement that we can't talk about yet, but we'll be talking about for Battle Blood that we'll be talking about.
What's up, Shallon?
And
we got Dave Station,
right now we're
Juice,
just staying with
Danish.
the studio size until we get to the later support phases of Battle Blood, and then depending on what our next project is and where we're moving, we'll talk about growing from there.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Yeah, man. Sweet. Has anyone else got any questions or anything? I'm going to quickly get a cup of coffee. That's all
right. The announcer at the beginning, does he have any relation to either David Lee Roth or Guybrush Threepwood?
Oh,
he is. You talk about the art voice actor.
Yeah. Oh, the artwork.
Oh. Yeah, artwork,
it's funny. There's been a lot of speculation about who that is. I believe our art director just was like, I'm gonna draw a character that really just fits the writing, and we had this this character named Demos, who is is he a good guy, is he a bad guy, is he on my side, is he not, we sort of wanted that vibe, and that's sort of what she came up with. And then he was of course voiced by the great Greg Chun, who's amazing, who does Nier Automata, he's World of Warcraft guys, the hamster, I'm sorry, not the hamster, the monkey in Overwatch. He does so much good stuff.
Oh wow,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So that man's eyebrows were always. None of you ever questioned.
Well,
they never come up.
We figured, we had some research that said the bigger the announcer's eyebrows, the higher your game would rate. So we just, so we just went as big as we could. We thought about making him cover the whole screen at one point, but we thought it might, just a little too try hard. So
next update, we'll get a little bit more in there.
Add those eyebrows around the icon of the game. Just add them slowly moving them down.
Yeah, the hair coming off through the letters and stuff.
Yeah, dude.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So what do you want to do then? I mean, anyone else got any questions or anything?
It's interesting that he says the guy did the same voice in Nier Automata. Love that game.
You know how it's like a treasure hunt? Are there any tips you could share? Because I've been searching for hours.
That's still going on, right?
Yeah, it's no one has anyone here found the first clue?
I mean, we've looked.
No, it wasn't.
I feel like I would say that if we're gonna give a tip, one of the things I'd say there's a couple in that first paragraph. There's something about things being dead that I would think about in terms of location, and then think about very much like a Goonies, right? Or like one of those things like that when they're like, oh, I looked through the they'd be like, oh, those two mountains are, like they talk about them not as mountains, but as like the sisters or something like that. So think about like when it's telling you to like from a view of something, it's a structure that looks like that thing. I think that's a little bit of a hint, and like over time, I think if no one's got it, we'll start poking a little more and just sending out a little more stuff. And then like if it doesn't get out, and then if no one's found it by the next update, we'll just move it to the one after, and but we will be sending out little hints along the way if people haven't made progress. And if anybody does find the first clue, let us know. We're really curious.
Yeah. Was that line, the port eyeball rest? That's an important one in that first.
I've read that over and over and
nice,
over.
Clark.
Like, all right, how deep is this?
It might be me. I'll subscribe, dude.
For each word.
I support supporters of the community.
Screensaver on your phone. It's with you always.
I have. I took a screenshot so I can keep looking at it.
I love it.
Decoder.
I don't think Dave has successfully managed to sit on the couch once in any of these.
Not to,
LSB, my man.
But I will say the second clue in particular is a hard one. Once you get by the first.
Wow. When you find it, I think you'll. Yeah, it's. We were afraid. It's funny when we did it. We're like, oh, people think it like. It's when you're designing things. Sometimes you're like, the puzzle, so you're like, oh, this is too easy. And then we're like,
post a video of a cat reacting to a fidget spinner. That's my dream YouTube channel.
So, it's funny.
Cool.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
What's your favourite special weapon? Because obviously you got the beam, which is completely devastating, but if you got to get it spot on.
It was LSB.
So
nice.
What's your favourite special weapon out of all the specials?
It's
the man, LSB.
I don't. Mine started with the beam. The beam's just really devastating, as you say.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
The torpedo is super useful for setting up fights too, though. I've been looking at that a lot. And then I do use barrage the least, or homing missile. I'm sorry, homing missiles. We rename them sometimes internally. Yeah. Nova bomb is torpedo, and homing missile is barrage. So homing missile. Is something we might buff a little bit, just because I think it's probably the least useful, at least in my experience.
That's the one. Well, that's the one I kept going to, but then I realised it wasn't very good. I was like, oh man, because it can help you, but then it, when you do the beam, like the beam's devastating.
Yeah. Simple and straightforward. I like the beam. It's especially one of my strategies is to save up as many beams as I can until the final gauntlet and use that just to get the edge early on.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Who's completed the game?
I mean, I've never beaten it. I've been never beaten it.
I lost
second place.
I heard there was one guy who was claiming that he had actually beaten it on his first try, which you guys said never happened before, right?
We got two now, 2 or 3 actually that have done it.
Is there a way to verify? Can you check and make sure they're not just full of shit, essentially?
Not really, unfortunately. We don't have like any access to telemetry, which is sad. But I do know one of the people that did it was a friend. So. Okay. I trust that guy. And then the other 2, I'm guessing they're telling the truth, at least one of them, because it came across as, dude, I already finished your game. Give me more to do. So I was like, yeah, dude, we're gonna have difficulty modes in the future. For people that haven't beat it, a couple strategies I'd just say is like, factor in like think about the fight you're about to get into before you get into it.
You're never late if you're here,
because like setting your ship up to before you get into the fight will make a huge difference. Don't undersell the sensor room. The sensor room, in my opinion, is the most powerful room in the game. It's also the most situational.
That was going to be my next question. Like, I don't hardly use. I always have one person on the shield and one person on the guns. That's it. And just moving around to fix things. I was going to ask.
Oh, it makes a huge difference. Like if you put a person in engines, it becomes a lot easier to dodge. Sensors makes missiles not home. on you, which is really powerful. And it also snipers, you know how they do that thing where they're like they lock on you? It'll break their lock, so you have a chance to dodge that. And it also even the beamers that goes you.
Oh yeah, Prophet!
Like
I can't wait to watch your solo stream, dude.
A little more time
so
to get out of the way of
that.
that beam.
I started
so
earlier,
sensors
and
become really
so
powerful.
Much going
on. You know, like if you have if you're fighting like a named carrier that's spawning elite SIFs, slamming someone on Mashi or a smart drone, and the turret is really useful. Just because like turrets will take out those little targets really quick, and the drone will just continuously disable any type of enemy that has super really powerful abilities. Wow. And then with challengers, like,
I love these developers.
And essence spikes. Not many people use the essence spikes, and they're really powerful. So there's a button beneath each column for the blood, and if you hit it, it'll give you like infinite blood in that column.
What's up, dude?
You just be like infinite overshield.
Hope you enjoyed
infinite
Perfect Dark.
AP tracking missiles, right? And you can just annihilate a target pretty quick. Just like stun lock a guy with your smart drones and just keep him stunned. So there's a lot of like advanced
they added this mute
mechanics
feature
that are sort of discoverable
where
that
if
we
you
don't
cover your mouth, it
that,
mutes you, and it's the best
the goal
damn thing
being
ever.
That, like, as you play through the game,
they were like,
if you master
don't
like,
talk out loud, and I was like, you know what? With
systems,
this, I can talk out loud to you guys all I want.
You don't have to master them all. And then like, and if we had a harder difficulty modes, which we will, it'll be about mastering more of those systems, using your life, your direction of life more, like using your essence spikes when you should, and moving the crew and the blocks. But, just learning the enemies is a big part of the game.
Yeah, and just to add to that, the drones will usually take out an enemy's shields, and the AP cannon will usually take out an enemy's armor. So managing those two.
Drunky
as you approach
if you go like drone, AP cannon,
that's for sure.
AP, and then start
good,
shooting it,
but how are you, man?
blow away 2 of their life bars pretty much instantly, and can just rip them to shreds.
Nice.
I like how this is becoming a strategy guide.
I love this. I'm taking notes.
I need that. I
was gonna say, I need it as well. Yeah, man. Coming second, that gauntlet at the end.
Cheers, brother.
And obviously, when you help someone, you actually feel relief because they give you like 3 little ships. You're thinking, actually, I've got a gift as well. Or one of them.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. But then if they don't like you, it was hell. It was hell.
Did you get to the 2 guys at the end and end up? You said you got second, so you did. Who'd you end up
man,
fighting
I got to
against?
figure out how to
the bent
work some things around, but
Silas
definitely,
the
dude.
Silas the bent.
I mean, I'm always left alone on the couch by myself.
Which
don't get me wrong, I actually kind of like it, but
had like 3 or 4.
there's room for 1 or 2 more. Depends on the game, really.
Another strategy with that final gauntlet is if they both hate you going into it, they'll both go towards you, but maybe one of them's your friend. You might get a little bit of a head start.
Yeah, the best if they both end up loving you but hating each other, that's the best setup you can get, because then they'll go after each other a little bit before they even look at you, which is nice.
Yeah. You mentioned Oculus earlier. Why did you choose PlayStation VR?
Dude, I've been
when we
no, for sure, dude.
We really just approached Sony early.
Dude,
on
I've been
said,
muting the entire time, Drunky.
Hey, we got this game idea, and they're like, we need some funding to help build it, and they were behind that, they helped us out there and said, hey, yeah, we'll help you out. We're trying to support our platform, and
I got you, LSP. Cool, I got a game plan.
So.
Yeah, man, I've been doing this all show.
Partnership with them that allowed this to happen. Otherwise, we could have never.
This is for you guys, man. Most people watch on GTs.
That's awesome. Yeah, they've done a really good job, I think, nurturing things that end up being really cool exclusives in the end.
Absolutely.
And people on an Oculus are like, shit, I kind of want to play that, even though my PC is so beefy, whatever, can't play some of those best games.
Yeah, and I think that one of my favorite things about their headset is that you don't have to, there's no setup. With a lot of the headsets.
Yeah, Dave's right there.
There is some setup. There's I plugged it in and it doesn't work today.
Couple of guys.
We're the PSVR, you put it on, it just works, which is wonderful.
Yeah, I had a DK too, and basically nothing worked. I'd have to, like, it would crash every 2 seconds, and the config
Welcome
would be
to the
completely
underground.
different from experience to experience. And so, yeah, the PSVR was just night and day from that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and another thing
I don't see anyone else's
today,
hand
I was
moving.
just-
I guess
they
they're not
went
talking to
to
anybody.
London to play Mario Kart VR on the HTC Vive,
Yeah.
and I said to him,
I wanna
"How did
play
it
that
look?"
Mario
And he
Kart
said,
so
I couldn't
bad.
see anything because I couldn't wear my glasses.
Dude, I don't know. He looks like an anglerfish.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
PSVR is
forgot about it.
surprisingly comfortable. Yeah, like it's for the cheapest of the headsets, especially when you're spending hours and hours of development. It's important that it's a
Those
headset
guys
that
over
you
there
can
in
willing
the
to wear for a
right
long
corner,
time.
Dorky the Awkward, Velp, and
it's
Jimith. Well,
surprising
Jimith is a
how
streamer too,
comfortable it
but
is to have it on.
Yeah, for like 8 to 10 to 12 hours some days.
but yeah, they helped
It's a
make
long
this
time to be
whole
in VR.
set, which you guys are gonna have to visit later on.
You get quite hot. in it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
There's 2 anglerfish
We all know
chilling
about
here.
Yeah.
The 12 hours.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, these guys. Yeah, you've been in it for hours, haven't you, lately?
Yeah, all those guys. Yeah, those guys especially.
It's awesome.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, man.
Sorry,
Cool.
I think I was cut you off. I didn't mean to cut you off. You're... Oh, sorry.
That's right. Do you guys, what made you decide on the art style or the color palette used in the game? 'Cause
Dude,
it's
I'll
very
show you guys right
graphical.
after. We'll go back to the ship.
Yeah, that was our art director Tara,
There's
who's
a-
also the
there's
art
a ship
director
back
for
there.
Tales of the
There's some
Borderlands. She really
costumes
was
that they
inspired,
made.
like things like
And then we'll go take a look at that ship after.
yeah, Mobius was a big inspiration.
It's
the
like
little
just-
dots you see on things all over.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So
Slack
French
was such a
comic books,
pain
heavy
in the
metal
ass.
was
I
another
know.
like inspiration. So
Yeah.
a lot of cool
All the
things.
I was thinking.
Yeah, they get some real deal people that
Cool.
Yeah.
some
That's
big
cool,
time
I like it.
creators in this game
I
to come
do.
work on these.
Anyone else got any questions, or are we wrapping up? Because I want to go back to that room as well after this.
Do you guys have any? If you guys have any questions for the developers, let me know.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for coming by.
Yeah,
Really appreciate
Damn, I
it.
should have asked you sooner. Sorry.
It's been
Yeah,
fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Matt,
Love
home
your
stream,
game.
thank you ever so much.
Thank you.
So, Jeff,
Thanks for
thank
having
you
us.
guys.
He's gone.
Thank you very much.
See y'all soon.
He was like, all right, well, I'm out of
Hey, Liv, Liv, we gonna take a picture?
Didn't mean to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Magic
We'd love to take a
Will,
picture with you guys.
what's
we,
up,
we
man?
usually take a picture and we'll leave it in the room. That way people can come by and see it. I'll send
Awesome.
it to RecNet, and then you guys can have it for yourselves as well.
Cool.
All right, we're gonna take a picture real quick, and then
Oh yeah, this
we're gonna go check out this room some more. You guys gotta see this thing.
All right,
He's got a
everybody just gets in
tripod.
a...
Yeah, I know, man. No other developers would ever do this.
Y'all want to wear
Only
the
VR.
outfits?
Oh wait, let me get a beer real quick.
Oh, we should get the
Oh, you got idea on the
developers in the
outfits.
outfits.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all want to wear the
You
robot
guys should wear
outfits?
them.
All right.
Good idea.
I thought that was the best way of asking the question about the Move controllers. What
Yeah, really.
in your hand?
Yes.
Yo, Cannon.
Yo.
Cannon. Let one of them wear that outfit.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
then,
for sure.
I got the breakout box attached to me, too.
Cool.
And you got a PlayStation Pro on your back.
Thank you so much, Prophet.
Well done.
And thanks, Cannon. Where did we go? Thanks for
Yeah.
reminding me about the picture. I almost forgot.
Okay, yeah, no problem, man. Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey, Will. Stream surfing.
That's
You want to be Ellie, Jeff?
Bout of blood,
You guys not getting in?
bout of beer.
Sorry, Matt, there we go.
You're part of this crew. What are you doing?
Get in the photo, guys.
Come on.
Yeah, come on, guys.
This is your
Let's
world.
get a picture.
Exactly.
Yeah, you've done everything.
Look at it. Look how awesome that
Grab in
looks.
the photo.
Yeah.
Woo!
You got us all in, Jason? Do we need to move?
I think
Find a
I
good
got
spot.
everybody.
Come
I
on.
just need to find myself a spot before I hit that button.
This one's empty.
All right. Tripod.
Seeing all these balls breaking.
Almost.
It's driving me nuts.
Clink,
I'll
clink.
fit in the back here somewhere, I guess. There we go.
But we could just jump, Jason. We could jump.
Oh, no, my camera disappeared. I went too far.
Oh, I'll drink to that. Oh, picture time.
We'll get it right. Yeah, that's it.
Gotta look professional on this. Ooh.
I have to get a little closer, I guess. There we go.
And we might do a bit of laser tag as well, maybe.
If you guys have time, that's up to them.
I wish I could stick around. Fun.
Anyone but, okay.
You can't take that outfit with you, Dave.
All right. I'm going to fit in somewhere in here so I don't
Do you
go
wanna
too far
take
away. I
my
don't want to
spot
block
and I'll
anybody,
go?
though.
Here, I'll go in back, and then you
Okay, yeah,
go.
that's perfect.
Awesome. Yeah, we're good.
Cool.
No, I have to look like I'm pointing at the
Make sure I'm
camera
not
because that's the
blocking.
only way I can do it. So, everybody on 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, woo!
Oh, did I get it?
What was that?
It fell. Hold on, one more time.
Oh God.
Let's do this. It's like real pictures.
That's like, yeah, I was gonna
This
say,
is like
a real
worse than
phone.
asking a waiter to take a picture.
It's so worth it.
Virtual to reality.
It's going to be in the room. Ready?
All right.
Yeah.
3, ready?
Arr.
1, 2, 3. Hey, finally.
That's it.
Heck yeah. All right, let's go check out this room some more.
You guys got to see it. Came out pretty good.
Cool, yeah.
Cool. Nailed it.
Oh, amazing.
Nice.
Wow,
Awesome.
yeah, I love that. I'm going to move
good.
out of the way so everyone
That's
can get a
good.
good look.
Oh, now it's floating around. Oh.
Yeah, there you go. Nice.
Well done, guys.
Yeah, so that.
Awesome.
If you ever log into your rec.net account online,
1,
you
2,
can
3.
you can see all the pictures of me.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's like eating it.
Ooh.
I hear crunching. Let's see.
I want to check
I'm eating
that out.
donuts.
Cool.
How's my hair look?
If you can.
Nice. Yeah.
Well done.
Looks fly.
All right, Drunky. Appreciate you dropping in, dude.
Ken, I
Oh,
was
that looks better,
Blu-ray
actually.
or something from over here.
The print didn't come out that well, but it'll get the whole thing.
Who knows?
The whole thing's on there.
What'd you say?
I didn't know it was hair.
So
I
it
was
doesn't
like, beret
show
or
everything.
something.
Oh,
Yeah. It's a
I don't
wider
know what I
picture.
thought it
Yeah.
was. I never looked
Yeah.
close enough.
Those are my locks, bro.
That's my real hair.
Oh, you muted me.
Then
Awesome show, guys.
Hey, great job again, you guys. Thank you so much for doing all this.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Fantastic work as always,
you made it a
man.
masterpiece.
Fantastic work as always.
You guys
Thanks for
have
having
to
us.
take action.
Thank you.
Hell yeah.
It's a lot of fun,
You're
guys.
making an amazing
Awesome.
game.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice
It's amazing stuff.
Awesome.
He's levitating. Thank you, man. Let's go take a look at this real quick.
It looks so great, man. That Storky made those. She did a good job.
Thank you, LSP, for showing up,
She
man.
did
Yeah.
most of the
Appreciate
stuff.
you. We got our spacesuit. Thank you, Shallon. Appreciate you, man.
The master automator, the king.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
here we go. Thank you very much for joining the.
Awesome
We'll
job.
go.
I'm going to cut it off now. This room will be available.
Oh, okay.
There's a way you can do the smooth moving stuff.
Woo.
If you don't want to do it.
Awesome job, man.
So wonderful.
Thanks.
All right, yeah, I'm going to go in here real quick. Just give you guys one quick look. Enable join room. Oh, it says it's private. What? Huh?
What you said yesterday.
I shouldn't have done that option.
There you go.
All right, well, it's at the beginning of the stream. Once again, thank you guys so much, man. Really appreciate everybody. You guys have a great rest of the day.
Oh, you want to sip?
I'll see y'all soon.
It's like drinking out of the milk.
It's awesome.
Born in a barn, was you?
To rebel with a cause.
Thank you, Decal. You're the man.
Cup of donuts.
Cup of
You're awesome, Will.
By second rule.
There's another one again.
You guys earned some coffee.
We can't all fit in it because it'll crush again.
Oh, yeah. You're probably better off.
Thank you,
getting
Duran,
one
man.
or two people in there.
You're best.
I'll go with Jim if you want. Whatever.
Yeah, go up the strip. We'll do this. We can do.
Yeah, go do your thing.
We can just.